Hey, we're here with Blitzen Trapper. Thanks so much. Well, part of Blitzen Trapper. Thanks so much for taking the time, guys. Really
Yeah,
appreciate
thanks for having us.
Yeah, no problem.
What's it like being in a band that's unapologetic about the sound that you guys make? I mean, it does. You are a band that has a retro sound, and you don't care. Like you're just there to make music, and it's nice to be, I'm sure, included in with bands like CSN or Genesis or some of your other influences. But do you guys even think about that stuff when you're making music?
No.
No, it's just, yeah, I think it's just a byproduct of all the stuff that we've soaked up. And yeah, I don't know. I mean, a lot of what you hear on record is the fruit of Eric's labors in the studio, and I'm pretty sure you're not thinking about trying
I think that I'm conscious of like the history of rock music, you know, which I
Yeah.
think is good to be, you know. But yeah, I think in general it's more just me just playing the stuff I like to hear, you know.
It's flattering, though, probably to be mentioned in amongst those people.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah,
I wish
yeah.
we had been making music back then, because then we'd be millionaires.
Right.
We'd be playing Super Bowl halftimes.
Yeah. What's going on in the Pacific Northwest? There seems to be a kind of this indie folk revival between you guys and Fleet Foxes and Connor Oberst to a certain degree. There seems to be something happening in the Pacific Northwest, probably over the last 10 years, that's new, and new specifically to the sound and the music that you guys make.
Yeah, I think that's true to a point. I think, I mean, when I was growing up in Oregon and in the late '90s, there definitely was folk music going on, and I would point to Elliott Smith probably
Right.
as sort of the guy that sort of. I think that music's been going on a while, and even Iron and Wine was going on at the turn
Right.
of the century, and so I think there's definitely this linear line of that music. But as far as its popularity, yeah, like any genre, it'll wax and wane depending on how
Right.
many fans there are,
Right.
and whatnot.
But it's not like the Pacific Northwest is a hotbed of folk music or any more than any other
Right.
region in the country. And I think there's, it's a really diverse scene in Portland. At least there's all kinds of different music coming out. It just happens to be that's what has sort of been mainstreamed out
Bubbled
of
up.
the region. Yeah,
It's just very different from what was going on 20 years ago when grunge
true.
was the big thing, right?
This is true. Although the lead singer of Screaming Trees, Mark Lanigan, made some amazing folk blues records 20 years ago.
Right.
And put them out on Sub Pop and recorded them at Reciprocal Studios, just like Nirvana's Bleach. And
Right.
So it's been going on for a long time.
Destroyer of the Void is your 5th record, and it opens. I mean, the record opens with Destroyer of the Void, and it's a pretty epic song, but it's a different sound for you guys in terms of synths and in terms of just doing a lot more in production. Was that on purpose, all of the stuff that's going on in that song, as opposed to some of your other more chilled out stuff?
Yeah, I mean, for me, it's just sort of an experiment. Half the time being in the studio, just sort of like writing songs and then bringing them in and messing around with them and, seeing if I can come up with something that I like or that's interesting, And that one is an experiment that turned out to be something that I liked, and wanted to put on a record.
Now, I know you're responsible for writing the stuff and obviously for producing, but how much involvement do the other guys have in the production of the record or even the songs themselves?
I do most of the arranging of the
Yeah.
stuff. The rhythm sections, Brian and Mike come in and help me arrange and play and all that, But generally, when I'm writing music, I kind of have it all mapped out in my mind before I go into the studio.
And they're either into it or not, right?
We're always into it.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, I do a lot of false starts, too. I start a song, no, and then try it another way,
Below the Hurricane is also epic, but in a very different way. It's kind of one of these folk songs that actually breathes for 5.5 minutes on record, but probably a lot longer live, right? Or not?
I think
it's about the same.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Is that something that you guys, I mean, I've never seen a Blitzen Trapper show live. Is that something that you guys do, tend to extend stuff a little bit live or not so much?
No.
Yeah, sometimes we do.
On occasion.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It kind of depends on if you play these songs for a while, like Love and Hate's an example, it kind of ends abruptly on the record, and we realized after playing it for a while that the crowds would appreciate us jamming it out a little bit
Right.
more.
So for us to jam means like adding another 20 seconds. I mean, we don't jam out like
Yeah. It's hard enough for
per
us to
se.
just fit all the songs that
Right.
People yell at us during a set, into a set.
The record actually seems a lot more layered than Fur. And Eric, that's probably because you wanted to do more experimenting on this record, or not so much?
I mean, I think, it is a little more, well, I don't know if it's more layered. Fur is pretty layered. That was...
Yeah.
I think it's more hi-fi, though, so perhaps listeners
sounds...
perceive the layers more than they were on Fur, where things were kind of melding together in your ear.
Lela, Diane? Did I get her name right?
Lela.
Lela?
Yeah.
Where did you find her?
We toured with her.
Wow.
She's from Portland. She's from Nevada City, but she lives in Portland with her band. And
Yeah, actually, last time we were in Toronto, she opened for us at the Horseshoe.
Really?
Yeah.
What an incredible song.
yeah, she's great.
Like, that's I think to me that song is one of those songs that could, even if you're not a Blitzen Trapper fan or have never heard of you guys, that's a song that has to be on everybody's stereo in 2010.
Thanks.
Hope
Yeah.
so.
Yeah, hopefully more people will find out about Lela, because she's a really gifted songwriter in her own right.
And she puts out records on her own and stuff like that.
She's on Rough Trade Records.
She's on Rough Trade.
Yeah.
Cool. What are you guys listening to? You're touring around, and I'm sure there's tons of stuff that you're hearing on the road because you're on the road so much. Is there anything that you guys are digging now that you want to tell people about?
I've been really digging the new Phosphorescent record.
Yeah, it's great.
It's called Here's to Taking It Easy. And it's about life on the road and about the toll it takes on relationships. And it's pretty resonant, I think, for someone who spends a lot of time on the road, in bars.
Guy couldn't get out on the road, right? They had their gear stolen and went missing for a couple of days. They missed their show in Toronto because it went missing.
Oh, that's too bad.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a fantastic record.
Eric?
I'm listening to, what am I listening to on my iPod? I've been listening to Townes Van Zandt.
Yeah.
I've been listening to the last Mozzie Star record she made in the 90s.
Really?
Yeah, I love that record. And then I'm listening to old Judas Priest records and this stoner metal band called Earth Ride.
Really?
Huh.
Cool.
We tend to listen to a lot of African music in the van, too, because it's just kind of hypnotic and makes you feel okay about being in a van for 8 hours.
Yeah. I mean, how tough is the toll on you guys, like physically and mentally, being out on the road and probably being in a little van the whole time?
I think it's the hardest part of touring. It's the most boring part, but it's, I don't know, there's no other way to get around it.
Lots of caffeine.
for certain people, yeah.
Who's the driver?
Batiste, our tour manager, drives one of the sprinters. We have 2 sprinters, and then we switch off with the other sprinter. So.
Cool. Well, guys, thanks for a great record, and thanks for coming up.
Thank you.
Yeah, thanks, Ira.
Looking forward to seeing you guys real soon. Cheers.